Hi everyone, it's Angela De Palma here from Vision Accountable. And for those that don't know me, I'm a personal brand strategist and a business coach for mainly startups. And today I have this amazing woman with me, Sammy Barnett, and we are going to talk all things personal branding because Sammy happens to be outstanding at personal branding. And this iteration of her career has really catapulted in lots of incredible opportunities. So I would love for us to, explore with Sammy what has she done? What does she do to create all this success? And also tell us, Sam. Yes.
What? Wow. My business is Nutrition with Sammy. I'm a clinically trained nutritionist. And well, do you want me to start from the beginning? Like would you like me to
Yes. Well, I would like you to start from the intersection between what you were doing before, which was your clinical nutrition
Yeah.
practice, then how you shut that down and then you evolved yourself into this
Into this
iteration of your career, because I think that's especially interesting
where
from
it
a personal
happened.
brand perspective, and then
Yeah.
how the opportunities that you've sort of manifesting and attracted since
Doing
then.
that. Doing
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
just the
So I had
background
it.
and then tell us the story.
Oh, okay. So my background, I became a nutritionist when I was a little girl. I had panic disorder, realized how incredible the human body was, and that what we put in it and what we absorb can impact on our mental well-being. And so I've taken that into clinic years and years later when I was in my early 30s. My clinic got really busy. I loved it until I didn't love it. It was successful. I did what I thought I had to do as a nutritionist, following all the other women nutritionists, like women's clinic, dealing with menopause, all the things. Um, I wasn't really living my values. I come from a background of entertainment, believe it or not. And yeah, I shut my clinic down when COVID hit because I needed space. I was just go, 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 busy, 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 doing what I thought I had to do to become successful, which it was a success. My podcast was successful. And I sat in the uncomfortableness. And for me, it kind of, the bridge that happened was I realized in clinic it was so much more than what women were eating. And I actually learned a couple of tools like NLP. And when you're learning these tools, you have to apply them to yourself. And so I started applying some of the practices to myself and digging a little deeper, and it uncovered my value system. My values, one of my top values my whole life was death and avoiding it, which is really weird. But then when I sat with that further down the line, I realized I wasn't running my clinic in alignment with my values. So I just sit with that. I shut my clinic down. It was like COVID was a blessing in disguise where it allowed me to have that space without feeling guilty. And I had to sit in these raw, uncomfortable emotions of, do I want to be a nutritionist? Like I'm not decompartmentalizing. I'm becoming these women. It's making me anxious. I've got women melting down in my office, having breakdowns, and while I'm helping them, it's not enjoyable for me. Um, I felt really bad thinking that, but you can't do something that isn't you. It just it doesn't last. And so I had to sit really uncomfortably. Um, it was like a bit of a mental breakdown, really. And I decided to feel all the feelings because I had been, what's the word you're looking for when you overanalyze everything without actually feeling it? My brain's not working. It's
Yeah,
afternoon.
I disassociate from
Yeah, where you're just constantly talking through emotions and not actually feeling them.
yeah.
I had to feel them. And when I had that breakthrough and I cried for a good month or two, I came out the other end a completely different person, more in alignment. And I thought, I don't care what people think anymore. I'm just going to roll with who I am as a person, and that was making people laugh. and doing all the fun things. And I just thought, no one's doing what I'm going to do. I'm just going to create a new precedent. And, I've read so many self-help books where it was like, just do the thing. If it fails, then you learn a lesson, right? If you don't do it at all, then you'll never know. And so I thought, well, I'll just come out with my Pikachu outfit on and do a little dance. And the local gym that I was working with, the kids' gym, they're like, can you come up and do workshops for the kids? So I'm doing digestive experiments, and because I just loved entertaining. And I thought, I can be a nutritionist, get to the core issue of the stress and the mental health, and entertain at the same time. And I thought, I think I've created what I want to do. And so I just started doing it and sort of building it as it came along. And then I thought, well, I'm going to turn this into a business. So I shut my old business name down. I went with my name, just Nutrition with Sammy. Tried to remind myself that I'm a different person now. Stop over analyzing everything. Stop overthinking everything and being perfect, because that's just not who I am. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. And I created funny little characters and bright things. And it's like my whole body shifted into something that I was meant to be. I wasn't meant to be the other person.
Yeah,
Because
amazing.
I did that and I
Yeah,
created that space, it allowed it to take form.
that's
So,
incredible. And so one thing I just wanted to dig into what you said before initially was that you realized you weren't living your values. And so
yeah.
obviously being an entertainer. So just run me back further about you and your sort of entertaining background. So when did you realize you were an entertainer?
So, for someone who had panic disorder and anxiety, you lashed on to making people laugh for validation pretty quickly. But I started to realize that making people laugh actually made me feel good, but it also made the other people feel good. So it felt like a ripple effect going on there. And so I always had a lot of people tell me that I was really funny, and I became the funny kid. And I don't know, I actually read somewhere that people with anxiety and that they have a really sharp, quick mind because your brain's like that you actually, become the funny one. And so I did acting classes to get over my panic attacks. I pushed myself into scary situations with microphones to build that resilience. Exposure therapy. Didn't know it was that at the time, but that's what I was doing.
How old were you then, Sammy? Just to quickly.
I would have been about 16, 17 when I
Okay.
started doing a bit of acting and exposure therapy, maybe at 18. And I was a clown when I was 16. The Sammy the Clown, which was very entertaining. And yeah, I think I needed that humor and laughter in my life because everything was so serious. My parents separated when I was young, and there was just a lot of heartache, and that humor kept me going. It made me feel good, and I loved that I could make people laugh like really easily. And
Yes.
so that was lost. When I opened a clinic, everything got really serious, and
Yeah.
I became it. I kind of felt like I was trying to prove that I was worthy of the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you were trying to fit yourself into a box.
Into a mold,
You didn't
yeah.
belong and that made you miserable. So that's what you mean when you say you weren't living your values.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, makes a
exactly.
lot of sense. Yeah, okay,
Mm.
perfect. So that's amazing. And so then so it sounds like it just sort of evolved. The Nutrition with Sammy brand just sort of you had that time of inner reflection, healing, feeling the feelings,
Mm.
and
Mm.
then you remembered that you're actually an entertainer, you're a light-hearted person, and you
Yeah.
actually are because you and I have spent quite a bit of time together.
Yeah.
And so then what happened? So you started at the with the workshops with the kids because now you're doing speaking, paid speaking in
I know.
corporate
It just
as
keeps
well.
going.
And
It
but
just
you haven't been doing this for very long. And this is
No, not very long.
how long? Not
So after COVID hit, what was that, 2020, I had about a year of just, I don't know where I'm going, don't know what I'm doing. And then about 22, 23, I started to come back out into the world. I actually went through my wardrobe and my friend said to me, what is wrong? What's going on? Like you're just wearing gray and it's like you're covering yourself up. Why are you need your flower, you need to bloom. And so I started buying more vibrant clothes and realized my favorite colors, I wasn't wearing them. And so now when I go out in public, I'm very bright, I'm very bold, I'm even my branding, I'm redoing it at the moment, but I decided to throw funny little quirky characters in there. And people started saying to me, "You are your brand." Like, I didn't know what personal branding was. I had no idea. I was just being me. And I didn't want to just be a nutritionist running a women's clinic doing women's health, because there's nothing wrong with that. I was something more unique. And I think that's where a lot of people in the industry they struggle with, because they try and fit like everybody else when everybody's got something so unique to come out that you got to play with that. Play with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's just
Yeah.
amazing. It's gold.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Now
yeah,
I'm on stages. Well, I was in I was in doing the kids' workshops, and a few of the parents came along. One of them was a teacher, and she's like, "You need to bring this into the schools." I was like, "Okay." So I started doing it into schools, and then I had a parent come along to one of my community workshops because the council got a hold of me, and they started running them for free in the council, and said, "You need to come to my office and do this, just like this." And I'm like, "With the poo hat?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, I don't know where my poo hat is. I should have it on. And I was like, all right. So I rocked up, and of all places, the first one I did, it was in a hospital with all these scientists and that. And I'm like, oh my God, I imposter syndrome. Like, and they had the best time. I got such incredible feedback. And then from there, word sort of started spreading. Now I'm getting asked to be like keynote speaker, which you came to not long ago. I mean, I got to talk for women airline pilots. So I'm all the people that were in my clinic that I made an impact on, I'm now getting to do that on stages in front of hundreds of people. And it's just so rewarding. And like you, as you know, what better sign from the universe than to get a second in Australia for the Jamie Oliver Food Hero Award. It was like the universe has just thrown a big keep going sign at me. So
yeah, that's amazing. And so, do you, because the truth of the matter is, like, you are very good at implementation. Like, to me, I've seen you over the last over 12 months, and I've seen you implement in the speed of light. Like, said, I need a book, and now your book's
yes.
ready. And you just, the
Don't
copy
slow down.
no, the copy has just come out. So, would you say that all of your opportunities have come through word of mouth, or what if you were to rate it as a percentage, what percentage of your opportunities that you've had have come from word of mouth, and what have come from you actually
Oh,
going out there and, like, or you doing
putting
some cold
myself out
outreach?
there.
What's that?
Yeah. Look, to be honest, I work pretty hard. I mean, I run a construction business as well, and I'm a mum of two teenage boys, so I do have my hands full. I love to be productive. It's just in my nature to create and do. But I do remember a couple years ago with my old business, I had a business coach, and they said, this is before I knew you, they said to me, you need to get out in public. Like, you're a people person. People can feel your presence when you're in the room. And I was like, oh, didn't know that. And so I decided to start networking when I created Nutrition with Sammy. And I thought, well, I'm not in clinic anymore. I need to get out in the world. And I think for me, people getting, when I network, I don't go at it by trying to sell my business. I go at it by trying to sell myself as a person, as a human, and being myself 100%, and hope that some feeling or sensation that I give to them that I can leave a lasting impression. And so I reckon probably 40% of what I get is through word of mouth, and the other 60% is me just pushing and taking every opportunity that I can. I feel like I'm a big believer of the universe guides you where you need to go. So I made friends with this beautiful Chef Jan, and she said, "Come along to this book event, it's free." I was like, I actually really, have an inkling to write a book. I'm going to come along. And they happened to pick me out and do all the testing on me. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be a great book. And then I thought, I'm just going to do it. And then once I did the book thing and did the thing, I met people from the media, and they're like, we want you on here. And it's like if you're not in the room and you're not there and you're not pushing yourself, the opportunities won't present themselves. So
Yeah, interesting.
yeah, you
So,
have. be there and be yourself.
Absolutely. And so, what would you say to people struggling to be themselves? So,
Mm.
like, you are quite unique in the sense that you really have owned yourself. It's like you're not an apology by any stretch of the imagination, but you're a humble person, you know. So I mean that in a really like positive way, in a way that we can learn from. So, what would you say to that? Like,
I feel like because I had panic disorder and anxiety, and I spent a lot of my childhood worrying about dying, I had to build a relationship with myself from such a young age. My mum, we struggled financially, and my mum was always working. So I was on my own a lot trying to figure myself out because I didn't have that support. And so I've kind of built this best friend with my body kind of thing. And when I stop and slow down, I can reconnect with myself. And I feel like a lot of people don't know who they are because they've never really known who they are. They've never really sat in the uncomfortable and had a conversation with themselves and find out what their why is, for example. Like we just do things because out of survival, because we have to earn the money, but it's not landing because it's not you. And so working in with like you can find emotions coaches, just trying to peel the layers to find out who you are so that when you actually enter a room, you're not pretending to be someone else. You're actually you. I don't know if that answers that question.
it
It's
does.
hard to teach
Yeah,
something just comes naturally, right?
yeah, because I mean, recently when we were driving back from your gig, and when I started asking you about personal branding, and I knew I wanted to do this recording because you were really talking about that you've got to know yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what would you like, what is personal branding to you?
Oh, personal branding. It's where you intertwine who you are as a person with your business.
Yeah,
I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. So that's absolutely right. And so
It has to be done because there's so many lawyers, there's so many real estate agents, and you've got to stand out.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing you said before, really about the values, that's just such a key because
Yeah.
values is the real key because not only are people vetting us, we're also vetting our clients. We're also vetting people. And it's the
Mm.
values that aligns everyone. So because it's very not fun when you're working with clients as well, where you don't share the same values.
Yeah,
Value,
absolutely.
yeah, it's
I
really,
think like some people when they go, okay, well, my values are honesty, this, that, because they think that's the values that other people want from you. And it's like, but are they your values? Like I've met some celebrities in that, like, I don't know, what's her name? The Hannah Montana chick. I can't remember her name. But she did an interview. Oh my God, my brain's not working this afternoon. What's her name?
I'm
The
not
one,
sure.
oh, well, she did an interview and she's unapologetically herself. And she even admitted that she likes to talk about herself. She was 100% herself. Some people may not like that, but she was just like, it's just who I am. I love what I do. I like to talk about my, she's a bit of a narcissist, but she's 100% herself and people will either take it or leave it. And I think that's where some people get a bit lost with value. They just go through a list of values and they highlight the ones they think that they should be. And I don't think that's the way to do it. I think sometimes you can be a bit selfish with your values.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's
Absolutely
about being
nothing.
about who we
It's
are
you.
and who we're
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
and who we're not is
Like
often,
money could be your top value if you really want it to be.
yeah, and there's
Yeah.
absolutely, I mean, it is what it is. We are
Yeah.
who we are.
Exactly. And that's
Um,
the thing that makes you different to everyone else.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I did think of a question, and that was about because your work, you talk a lot about your panic attacks and your panic disorder. And
Mhm.
obviously, your book is about anxiety and overcoming, tools and your part memoir, part personal development. Is that right with your book?
Yeah, it's a
Combination?
little bit of, I've got it right here. It's a
Yes.
little bit of everything. like my it's basically my story from childhood, like birth to now, and how anxiety has influenced me and how I've built resilience in childhood through school, in my teenage years, and then through building a business and being a mum. So it's sort of seeped into everything in my life,
Yeah.
and how I grew from that. Yeah.
Yes, because one thing that you're you're also, I mean, obviously you're an educator and your work is a real gift to humanity because it's about not only being who you are and being true to yourself, but it's also you're talking about a taboo subject, panic
Yeah.
attacks, anxiety, because there's still a lot of people in our society that are very ashamed and
Yeah.
hiding behind these sort of, I guess, negative experiences that people, are hiding. So what gave you the confidence to actually be so,
Real.
yeah, so real? Like, because
Um,
that's actually a rare quality, and I know, because
yeah.
I've heard you pitch and I know that you put it into every pitch and I've
Yeah.
seen you give your keynote and obviously, so where did you always talk about the panic disorder? When did you start sharing this? Because I know that you also worked as an executive assistant back.
Yeah, no one sort of knew about it back then. I was very shy, very quiet, believe it or not. And I didn't share much of my life. I think when I opened my clinic and I had women breaking down, talking about the shame and the guilt, and I connected with them and built that rapport by telling them about my own battles. And it made them feel seen. And the deeper I went with some of my stories, the more safer they felt with me. And that's how I built such a thriving clinic, because I was able to share that, because they look at me and they just assume, oh, she's got it all together. I want to be like Sammy, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, I had liver failure. I've had, panic disorder. I've had even issues in my relationships and with my kids, and people assume you're all these things. And I think if you break down the layers and you say, I'm exactly like you, but I'm just one step further along because I've taught myself certain tools to use. And yeah, so I started resonating with these women, and I thought, you know what? When I started doing it with kids, I thought, when I was at school, no one was talking about it. I wonder. And so one day I had all the kids all in a circle, because I wasn't really talking about it much at first. And I told them to close their eyes and put their hand up, anyone who's scared of going to school. And nearly, I'm going to say 90% of them put their hand up. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so I started to share a little bit about my journey at school, how I was terrified jumping out of moving cars. I didn't go to school for months and months because I had agoraphobia. So I was trapped in my own house. And at the end of a couple of the workshops, I had, in particular, girls, because girls don't really express the anxiety. It comes out as drama. And they come up and they said, these 10 and 11-year-old girls, that they actually had panic disorder, and they didn't realize that food that they were eating could have such an impact on the way they were feeling. And it just, it hit somewhere inside. Oh, I'm going to get all teary. It hit somewhere so deep inside me that I thought, this is my calling. I have to share. I have to share all these things. Like, people just assume people are lucky and successful. They don't see what you go through. And
Definitely.
I think that's where you resonate with people. Like, when I used to put socials up, I would share all the positive stuff, and this is what I'm eating and this is what I'm doing. And every now and then I'd share something not great happening, and that's what drawed all the attention, because people want to be able to um, relate to your life. And yeah, so now when I get up on stage, I share my story with panic disorder, and how I struggled as a mom with, P, post-traumatic, what is it, postnatal stress and depression, and how I became obsessed with eating healthy. I had orthorexia, and at least one person in the crowd is going to resonate with something. And then usually at the end, they will come up and chat to me. I had that. I did that. I didn't know I could do that with that. Thank you. You've actually changed the way that I'm looking at myself and my diet and my life. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
it's rewarding
yeah,
for me.
yeah, oh, for sure. Not only is it rewarding, but it's an asset to humanity. And I say that to you all the time. Your work is an asset to humanity because you're not just a nutrition, because really your work is the intersection of nutrition and mental well-being. That's what your work is the intersection of. And you talk about both and how, both impact each other. And
Yeah.
and you work with children and corporates and children and adults. And
Mm.
so that's, it's very inspiring work. Like,
Mm.
because imagine these poor children. I mean, I know, I mean, I never had panic disorder, but I had a hell of a lot of shame because I grew up in a violent family,
Mhm.
where it was, and with mental health. My dad had a mental illness. He was violent. He was an alcoholic. He was a misogynist. Now, I had a lot of shame, and I could really only start speaking about that until my 50s.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
much, much younger, and I think through your work and why it's such an asset to humanity is that the the younger people are to be able to share and actually start the healing process because the sharing is where the healing journey begins.
Yeah. What is
Do
it?
you agree?
Someone's messy is another, your messy is your message, I think the
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
goes.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so because a lot of the clients that come to me, they've outgrown their old identity. They haven't yet fully owned the new one, but they can
Mm.
see where they're going. So they're kind of at some type of
Cross.
business identity
Yeah.
level shift or some
Mhm.
sort of reinvention or transition or turning point. So when you were becoming nutrition with Sammy, did you go through, like, you'd outgrown your old identity, you knew that, and it
Yeah.
wasn't you in the first place, so you'd actually assumed
No.
an identity that wasn't 100% aligned with who you are
I am.
because it didn't include all the bits of you, including the fabulous, wacky, um, funny bits that make you so fun. But
Yeah.
so did you go through a bit of a wonky? It sounds like your
Very
transition.
wonky.
You did?
Very. I can go deeper if you want.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
was
please.
pretty all the things. So I did I'd spent most of my life trying to heal myself sciencey with nutrition and all the things. And then I had a lot of spiritual friends and I thought, you know what, let's just journey down into the woo-woo. Why not? And so I did a intense breath work and I don't know if you've done intense breath work. It can take you into another dimension, basically. And I had spent all week at this NLP course building all this emotional stuff up. And so I was really tender when we went into this breath work. And as soon as I started doing I think it's called holotropic breath work,
Right.
started doing the heavy breathing, it just clicked. And all of a sudden I was unable to control my body. This force had taken over. And yeah, I was giving birth to generational trauma.
Mm.
I was screaming, "Get out of me!" And I felt like someone was holding my hands. I don't know how deep you want to go here. And it freaked me out. Like the whole thing. I had never done anything like this in my life, and I didn't know what was going on, but I couldn't stop it. And so I just had to let this take its course. And there were women dancing around me, chanting like a coven. They were witches, and it was really freaky. And they were my ancestors. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. So I just let it play out. And once the whole birthing process had gone, I felt like this light free weight and I could feel this bright white light coming out of me and filling the room, and then I came to and I just lay there thinking, what the heck, what the heck just happened? I don't know. And we sat in a circle, we had to share. And before it got to me, the guy that was right near me, he said, because I'd been sort of connected to him all day. He was a really lovely guy. He said, "Oh, I don't know what it was, but I had." women chanting and dancing around me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. And so I went up to him afterwards and we had a bit of a chat and we found out that both of our ancestors had come from the same part of the world, in the same area. And so for some reason my ancestors were, so I didn't know what to do with that. It was so intense, but I felt incredible for the next 3 or 4 days until I came home and it they call it, what is it, spiritual bypassing, and it was like the most intense crash of my life. It was like I'd gone from 11%, or 11 out of 10, 11%, 1,000%, and I was like Neo from the Matrix, and I'd taken the pill and I was woo, to being pulled back into reality, but it's not the same. It's like, I don't know if you've seen Stranger Things where you're in the underworld, in the upside down world, and everything was scary, like everything. And I didn't even want to be here anymore. I just shut everything down. I had to sit in the intensity of it all. I found another healer who closed a portal. I didn't know what
Wow.
any of this meant to me because I've never been one to be spiritual. It's like, here's a dose of spiritual. And it just went intense. But it was so intense, the feelings and sensations, that I wasn't allowing myself to feel them because I felt guilty and shameful for feeling them because there was nothing wrong with my life. Like, I got a home, I've got beautiful children, I've got a dog, I've got a mum that loves me, my sister. There was, it was like I wasn't allowed to feel like that at all.
Yeah.
And it's horrible that we do that to ourselves. Um, but it wasn't until I met an emotions coach and I told him what I'd been through, and we talked through some things, and I had to go pretty deep to discover that I was in the wrong path. But these ancestors did say to me that anxiety was gift and it wasn't a curse, and that I had to use it for what it was. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of kept playing in my head.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of at the disgustingness of it all. I
Yeah.
had to sit like that for like 3 or 4 months. People were worried. People were,
Wow.
because they'd never seen me like this
Oh
before.
my
So I had
God.
to sort of put the pieces back together, and that
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Wow. I
that,
see.
all the things.
Yes. No, that
It was pretty gross.
not at
Yeah.
all. No, I mean it was just very intense.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that sounds really, really intense and good that you found that other healer. But I guess so that was when you actually realized that the message of the anxiety was a positive
Mm.
thing. So would that
Yeah.
have been the turning point around that message, which is that obviously it's your
Yeah.
message moving forward or a big part of it.
It is anxiety, and that's, I've even spoken about it in my book. I went into detail, but I'm probably going to scare some people off, but but that's me. And yeah, I think it talks about how I rebuilt my business and what I had to sit with, and my values were fun and family and freedom, and I didn't have any of that. Like, I was working too hard. I didn't see my family. I was never any to-do list person. There was no fun. It was just trying to get women to open up and share their wounds and heal them. And yeah, yeah. And the freedom, I didn't feel like I had much freedom. I felt like when women were coming into my clinic, that I became their story because I wanted them so badly to heal that I would take all that on, and it
Yeah.
was very heavy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
So
can relate to
hard
that.
to human, and women are really struggling in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've done some frontline work when I was working at Carers Queensland. I think I've shared that
Hmm.
before that I was working as a vocational coach. And it was the
Yeah.
first time I'd ever done frontline work. And I was just so good at it. And I heard all these stories. I was there for 10 months and I heard 80 women carers
Oh,
share their stories. And some were, DV, some were multiple children with, a lady had twins with serious autism.
it hits so hard,
They
and you can't
were.
help but
I
feel
know.
it. Like,
It
really
was.
feel it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I realized that I'm not a frontline worker. I was very good at it and I had so much empathy.
Yeah.
But then after
That's
that,
the thing. We're good at it, but
yeah, that's
slowly
right.
eats away at us.
Yeah. But So then I built She Simply Impacts after that. And that was the platform, affordable personal and professional development for women, because I realized that a lot of these women can't afford coaches. They can't afford access to personal development. And so it's a collective and a collaboration of coaches. And so, so it served its purpose. And out of that came a deep purpose of mine, which was to help to provide something, to provide a gift that, women can either use or not, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so definitely. And so coming back to personal branding, so tell me your vision, because a lot of personal branding, it's obviously your vision, your mission, your values, your passion, and your core beliefs. See, those things and the sharing of those is really the essence of your personal brand. And it's about articulating that
Mm.
and your stories, which you've shared some of today, is the emotional connection. Because a brand stands for something.
Yes.
So, and that's what differentiates a brand from a non-brand. Like today, I was in Chemist Warehouse and I heard someone buying something and they said, "Do you want the generic one or the brand one?" And so
Oh,
the
yes.
brand one, so a brand is about something. It's about an identity.
Trust.
It's about a
Yeah.
belief. It's about this passion. So tell us more about your brand, where it's going, what you stand for, and your vision for
Yeah.
your for
So,
your clients and
gosh, well, it's funny because when I first started working with a coach and that they told me that to steer away from anxiety, you don't want to be the anxiety person. And I listened to that. I did. Isn't that insane? And I knew deep down in my heart that this was where I had to go because quite often in healing and that our message is what we use. And so, yeah, I feel like that's sort of at the core of what I do now. Like when I first started nutrition with Sammy, it was sort of lighthearted and fun because I had scared myself so far down into the abyss. I needed that lighthearted fun to bring me back out. And so that was where it first sort of formed.
yes.
And it sort of formed into more of a deeper connection with children and adults on anxiety and using it more as a message and a way to connect with the body and it's like a compass and it's directing you where you need to go, whether it's something missing from your soul that you need to realign or whether it's an imbalance with your hormones or like if there's just so many things that it can be telling you that you're just not aligned with the universe and something's out of whack. And so I feel like that's the core, but I'm doing it in because there's so many pieces to the pie, right? When I think of a compass, you think of all the little areas you want to go to true north, and you think of all the areas on the compass that are not facing true north. And so we realign all that. And I do it in a really fun way now. I've realized I am very good at taking really complex
Yes.
things and turning them into something that we can understand.
And
And
that we
so,
can remember. Just let me add that bit that we can remember, because when I first heard one of your presentations, it was the 10-minute presentation at BX networking. It was really funny, but I remembered a lot and I learned a lot.
yeah, well, that's it. We remember by the way we feel and through humor. And so I've started really embracing that. I had someone tell me that I was more of a comedian than anything when I did a workshop. So I had them laughing and laughing, but they all remembered it. And I get a lot of people messaging me after, whether through socials or email, to say, I actually really enjoyed your talk. And this particular part I will remember forever. And I'm slowing down when I do this now. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I do it in a way that resonates with them that they can relate to because they're like, I feel seen. And then they obviously implement that in their life. And so yeah, I feel like it's sort of, you come up with an idea and it just keeps sort of transforming to what it needs to be. I found that I was stuck for so long because I didn't know what I wanted, but I just had to do something. And so I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They feel like they have to know everything straight away. And it's like, just create something now, do it, and then change it as you go until it becomes the big,
Yes.
beautiful piece. And it's still forming. And
That's
so for
gold.
me,
That is gold, by
yeah,
the way, in the personal branding piece, in the
yeah.
becoming
Because
who,
we
yeah,
change every day. Every day we're changing in our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. And so now that I've got this book, this is kind of the core of where things are going because it just touches on so much in here that my speaking sort of it's either business or building resilience or it could be nutrition and mental health related. There's just so many layers. And I had someone say to me the other day that you're sort of turning more into a thought leader than a nutritionist, where you like the Mel Robbins and that. I mean, she's just way out there, but you know, never put people on pedestals, right? If you see and you feel and you have a vision, who says you can't get there, you know? So, yeah, I feel like I'm sort of growing into something bigger than I expected, and who knows where it's going to go. I'm working at the moment with a graphic designer, so we're sort of changing my original fun thing into something that sort of blends with adults and kids. That was something that I was stuck on for ages because obviously when you're marketing, you don't want to talk to everyone. And I was talking to everyone because everyone has anxiety. Well, not everyone, but most people these days. And I wanted the message to hit everyone. So that was really difficult when branding. Yeah.
for sure. And so that's really interesting.
Yes.
And see, you
Yeah.
are a living example of what I teach, which is that your brand evolves with you, and the personal brand is the thing that travels with us throughout
Mm.
our entire career. So that's the thing we actually own, but it's an
Yeah.
evolved ecosystem. And that's why it needs to be constantly updated and tweaked because we're constantly updating and tweaking. And also, we're getting
That's
feedback from our audience because our audience actually informs us what it requires, what it needs from us, and, where the problems and the pain points are so that we can tailor what we do to meet those problems and pain points and actually solve those problems. So it's really good sort of hearing your story.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And because,
Yeah. I've
like,
had someone say, I was just going to say, I had someone say to me, you are your business card. You don't hand people, you're the business card, which is true. Dress the way you want to be seen. Be 100% you. Present yourself as your business because you are your business. Yeah.
right. And the other thing is that you're evolving and you're tweaking and you are your business and your business is you. And so because yesterday you actually spoke to pilots, a group of female pilots.
Yeah.
What talk did they want? The one on nutrition and mental well-being?
Yeah, so they originally reached out because they wanted just a nutrition talk for women who are airline pilots, what to eat when they're up in the air. And I said, look, I do nutrition and mental well-being. That's my forte. And they said, oh, we just kind of want nutrition. I said, no, that's fine. And I said, look, I know another nutritionist who specializes in that area. But they got back to me and said, you know what? It actually sounds like something we really need, nutrition and mental health, because they're one and the same. And yeah, I just said, yep, I can do a great talk. I think you'll love this. I came in and they loved it. It was great. But I find I don't go in and just do a talk with slides. I come in, I read the room, I get to know exactly what they're talking about, throw in a bit of humor that they would relate to, and I use the slides as a guide. And I knew that once I got to the slide that talked about protein breaking down to amino acids, and those amino acids create things like serotonin, and then serotonin makes melatonin because most of them have issues sleeping because they're going through different time zones. And that straight away, I could see them all go like this because they want to know how to make melatonin. And when I told them that 97% of serotonin is made through your gut bugs in your gut, they were all like, oh my gosh, because they need serotonin to make melatonin. And so straight away when I started talking about gut health, they were all drawn in, like all of them.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, you've got to read the room. Like I presented to a bunch of guys and I talked a lot about testosterone and they were all ears because, read the room. Yeah, yeah.
Such
So,
amazing golden tips. And I mean, Sammy really has rapidly like gone from strength to strength. And I feel very privileged that I've sort of been able to witness some of it and, come along on the journey. And I'm hoping to be there, in
yeah.
the future. And I know I really do believe that you have a global brand and I really believe in your work. And it truly is an asset to humanity. And I love how it's for children as well, because I think that children like we are the voice for children, they don't have
Yeah.
that voice yet. And so it's really moving and I love what you do. So, as sort of a bit of a wrap up, is there anything that you want to talk about, do you think, that we haven't covered when it comes to branding, brand evolution, your work, your message, your
Hmm.
vision, your,
Anything I want to cover? Gosh. Um, yeah, I think just being true to who you are as a person. It's hard though, because I think we've created such a conundrum of a life that people are just conforming and following everyone else. And I think the further along down the business route I went, the more I was looking at everyone else. I think if you put your horse blinders on and just be you, because I found I really got stuck along the way when I first started building businesses because I was trying to copy everyone else. I was like, and then you'd have that, I'm not good enough. They're doing this now. I'm not doing this. My socials are terrible compared to theirs. I mean, use it as an idea, like you can look at people who are doing something you want to do, but use it as a positive drive to say, okay, well, that's how they're doing it. I want to do it in a different way, but you know, let's see how we can make it work. And
yeah.
I think making it your own is really, really important. It's how you stand out from everyone else. There's a lot of nutritionists out there, but I find a lot of people tend to know who I am because I'm the one with the poo hat.
Sammy, I've
Get a
just
poo
thought,
hat.
no, don't get a poo hat, don't copy Sammy. But Sammy, one thing that I do want to touch on though is because you're very good at implementation, you're a really fast implementer, and that's a lot of the things that people struggle with. And one of the
Yeah.
things that my work is sort of there to solve is how to break through, the lack of consistency and the lack of accountability. So, do you have any tips for implementation? Like, what are your sort of go-to methods for actually getting all this stuff done?
Yeah,
Because you also help your husband run a very
I
successful business
do.
as well.
Yeah. I
How do
try to get that delegated, but he doesn't want to let go of me yet. Apparently I'm good at my job. But yeah, to be honest, when I first started, because I've read so many self-help and business books, I just tried to do what worked for others. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to get a social media spreadsheet once a month and I'm gonna have it all ready to go. It didn't work for me. I had little kids at the time. It didn't work. Nothing seemed to work. It didn't feel like me. You know, when you try and copy what someone else is doing for them. So finding out what works for you. Like if you've got little kids, and you'll go, 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 sometimes recording like a social just in the thick of it, people want to see that. They don't want to see your pre-done Canva creation every single day that's just generic that everyone else is doing. They want to see what you're doing. They want to connect with you. And so for me, when it comes to socials, I don't plan them ahead. Everything you see on my socials is something that's happening right now or something that I did 2 days ago that I got ready for the day. Because sometimes, depending on your business, but I find if you plan a whole month, you put a post up and it doesn't actually relate to who you are right at that point and it doesn't land. And so people are commenting on that and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I put that post up. And so finding out what sort of system works for you. I actually have a journal that I write in every night before I go to bed. It has this blank page. So I dump, otherwise I can't sleep. I dump everything and then I write down three things that I want to achieve for the day, something for my business, something for my family, and something just for me. And I make sure that I do them, non-negotiable. And then I have from 5 a.m. till I don't know, 9 o'clock at night, it's half-hour slots. I used to get obsessed with making sure I followed it, but now it's a little bit more flowy. But I find like if you sort of block out time for that day, um, because every day, I know as a woman, every day you wake up, you don't know how you're going to feel. It depends on your hormones, it depends on what you ate the day before, and some days you just don't feel like it. And so having that where you can sit and jot out your chart and go, you know what, this afternoon I need to do a half-hour walk out in nature. I desperately need it. Feeling that intuition and connecting with your body. And so for me, I feel like working with my body has been how I have been consistent. Does that make sense?
It does. No, that's really interesting,
Hmm.
and useful. And so, but basically, you give yourself half an hour blocks.
Yeah, so they're half hours,
Yeah.
so 6:30. And
Yeah.
so I block out before 6 because I'm up at 4 every morning because I go to the gym at 4:45. But by the time I have to move my body, if I don't, I'm lethargic. I pre-do foods on a Sunday. I'll prep a heap of yogurts and prep a heap of chia puddings. And if I don't have all that prepped ready to go, I have blood sugar drops and lows. And by 3 o'clock, you're just like, oh my God. So making sure your blood sugars are good, that's another thing that I find. Um, yeah, I think your quality of your work and what you put out there definitely people can pick up on that if you're feeling pretty crap. And I think you need to be honest and like I used to get on there and go, hey everyone, I'm really this and I'm that. And then straight away people can tell that you're not you. So if I get on and go, hey guys, I'm only really at 50% capacity today because I didn't sleep last night because I decided to have a whole bar of chocolate before I went to bed because I was stressed. People would appreciate that more than, you popping on and pretending to be something you're not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
amazing because
Yeah.
yeah. So, Sammy, how can people find you on socials or where can they find you? Like, what are your main platforms?
Yeah, my main one is Instagram. I was trying to remember which one it is. And I'm in my stories a fair bit on Instagram. They kind of go to my Facebook business page, but I'm not really on there that much. I find the algorithms are terrible for Facebook. And LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn profile as well. And then my website, Nutrition with Sammy, is all the things. Just type that in and you'll see my lovely face appear everywhere. Yeah.
Fantastic. What a great conversation. Sammy, thank you so, so much. And I'd love your feedback on this. And yeah, thanks for your generosity. You are wonderful. And I really do. I'm so
Oh,
lucky to
thank you.
have you
I
in my
really like
life. Yeah.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Bye. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And bye, everyone. Bye,
Bye.
Sammy. Bye.